The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel as told by Luke. When the hour came, he took his place at the table and the apostles with him. He said to them, I have eagerly desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. For I tell you, I will not eat it until it is fulfilled in the kingdom of God. Then he took a cup, and giving thanks, he said, Take this and divide it among yourselves. For I tell you that from now on I will not drink of the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of God comes. And he took a loaf of bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it and gave it to them, saying, This is my body, which will be given for you. Do this in remembrance of me. And he did the same with the cup after the supper, saying, This cup that is poured out for you is the new covenant in my blood. The Gospel of the Lord. Now, I don't need to introduce these people, but I'm delighted that they're here, because when I asked both of them separately and individually if they would come and do this task for me, and really without a moment's hesitation, they both said they would be delighted to do it. So I want you to give a good, warm Dundalk welcome to Bobbie, Leigh, and to Christopher.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christopher Smith. I'm 26 years old, and I'm a youth worker for Belfast. I've been living in Dublin now for the past 4 years, and I work for an organisation called Citywise Education. In Citywise, I work with young people from disadvantaged, underserved communities. When I was a young lad living in Belfast, I lived only 10 minutes away from the Redemptorist Monastery, and I went to primary school just around the corner from it. I've always considered Clonard as my church, even though I was born and grown up in the parish of St. Paul's. Clonard isn't the parish church, but I always identified with that more than my parish. I suppose one of the main things that attracted me to Clonard was the welcomeness you felt from the church and the people, as well as the great contemporary folk music provided by the folk group that sang at every half-filled Mass on Sunday. I found it to be a great place to visit, and the fact that Clonard is shrouded in the history of Belfast, was also quite intriguing to me also. When I was about 12 or 13 years old, I wanted to be an altar server because my friend was an altar server in Clonard. My mum wouldn't let me because God gifted me with the talent of being late for absolutely everything. It's a skill that me and my brothers all share. So as a stubborn teenager, I wanted to prove my mum wrong, and I made sure that I was always on time for half-filled Mass on Sunday. I never did become an altar server, but I was an asset to the church stewards because I helped to clean up the aisles of the church after Mass while I waited for my friend to walk home. When I was 16, I was asked officially to become a church steward, and I even got a horrible purple blazer included in that deal. Sure, why would I say no? Shortly after that, I met Brendan. He was the youth ministry coordinator for Clonard, and he invited me to a meeting to talk about travelling to Vaughan in Germany to meet other young people linked with the Redemptorists from all over Europe. I thought this would be a great idea, so I went along to the meeting, and I went to Germany, and that was my first experience of a Redemptorist Youth Congress. What I saw, what I witnessed on that trip, was a vision of faith that was fun, energetic, and filled with hope and happiness. From then on, I've been deeply involved in youth ministry with the Redemptorist family.
My name is Bobbie, Leigh. I'm 23 years old, and I'm a law student also from Belfast. I volunteer like Christopher in the youth ministry project at Clonard Monastery, and I also help to lead the singing at our Novena like Anita is doing this afternoon. Unlike Chris, I don't live very close to Clonard, and the start of my involvement in youth ministry with the Redemptorists was very much less voluntary than Chris's was. I had always attended the solemn Novena each year in June with my family, but my real involvement began one day in 2007 when my granny came home from Mass and said, "Oh, by the way, Bobbie, I've signed you up to go on a trip to Limerick with a group of young people from Clonard." And the response of my 17-year-old self was to be absolutely horrified at this idea, and I told her, "I don't know any young people from Clonard. Now all know each other already, and I don't really want to go." But my granny was a very determined woman, and so her response was, "Well, it's tough luck, because I've already paid the deposit, so you're going." So I turned up one morning at Clonard to get on a bus with a group of young people who I didn't know and to spend 2 weeks with them in Limerick. And I can honestly say that I was absolutely dreading it. But in Limerick we met with hundreds of young people who are involved with the Redemptorists from all over Europe. And some of the people I met there are still among my closest friends, Christopher here being one of them. And perhaps more importantly, I realised for the first time the openness of the Redemptorist family and the opportunities for myself and other young people to be actively involved in a church which is doing really exciting things.
So, since joining the youth ministry team in Clonard, I've had many fantastic experiences that allowed me to explore and reflect on my faith in fun and exciting ways. Some of the biggest events that I've taken part in included setting up an outreach program from the church to the local community. The youth ministry team wanted to create a program where young people could express their faith through actions in the community, and during outreach, young people who were representing the monastery descended onto the streets surrounding the church and worked hard to lift rubbish, clean graffiti and entertain the kids in the area. The impact of the Clonard Youth Outreach Programme has been amazing, and the size of the programme has grown every single year. Out of this, we have established many other opportunities for young people to actively participate in church by living out their faith in the service of others. For example, I've been to Lourdes on 8 occasions to help to look after and care for sick and elderly pilgrims who travel once a year to Lourdes to get their healing. Clonard has established a youth team specifically to do this task during their annual pilgrimage trip. We also have a very strong youth contingent that help out and volunteer at our solemn Novena in the month of June. Helping inside the church and in the car park, sorting out petitions, and also acting as ministers of the Word and ministers of the Eucharist, young people are actively involved in all aspects of our 9 days of prayer. The active service within our Catholic faith is important to us. Just as Jesus offers himself up in the Last Supper, my involvement in the Redemptorists has taught me that we should offer ourselves to others as well. To have faith is to serve.
And while service has been part of my faith experience, like some of you, I'm sure, doubt has also been a big part of my faith experience. And there have been times in my life when I've found it very easy to believe and very easy to get myself to Mass on Sundays. But there have also been times when I felt very shaky in my faith and I found it very difficult to believe. And I suppose what my involvement with the Redemptorists has taught me is that faith and doubt can exist together, and that it's okay to not always feel firm in your faith 100% of the time, but that the important thing is to keep coming to God just as you are, no matter how weak or strong your faith happens to be on that day. And I think this is a really important thing to learn, especially for young people in today's society, when it can be so difficult to believe and to practice your faith, when there are pressures on you which pull in very different directions. The message I've received is to cling to whatever faith you have, however big or small it may be on any given day, and to keep coming to God for your strength, whether your worries are your leaving cert results or your college applications, your relationships or your job. The lesson I've learned is no matter how you feel about your faith that day, to keep coming back to God for your strength.
So just August past, I was lucky enough to attend my 4th Redemptorist Youth Congress, which took place in Italy. On that trip, our Irish delegation, the group of people who travelled from Ireland, got to visit the tomb of St. Alphonsus to relive his story and to walk in his footsteps. This refreshed my belief in the importance of living a life of service, and I felt ever more a Redemptorist than I had before. The encouragement of St. Alphonsus' story of how he gave up being a successful lawyer to care and minister to the homeless, the poor, and the marginalised youth of Naples and the surrounding regions is a very refreshing one for me. He set up the Congregation of the Redemptorists in 1732 with the goal of teaching and preaching in the slums where the most abandoned people resided. Not unlike St. Alphonsus' story, I went to college in Queen's University in Belfast, where I studied electrical engineering. As well as working with the Redemptorists, I was volunteering in my local youth club, and I was getting qualified as a youth worker. For me, I didn't feel that I would be fulfilled if I was to become an engineer, and I felt a strong sense to work with young people. Anyway, I graduated in 2009 as an engineer, but I quickly got a job with Citywise, where I'm now currently based in Tala and Dublin. I teach young lads who can excel through school for many different reasons, but Citywise provides them with a second chance to turn their lives around. Some even make it back into mainstream school to achieve their leaving cert, which is a fantastic chance and a fantastic opportunity for them. Another aspect of my work is encouraging and empowering young leaders to give back to their community by helping to run groups for children younger than themselves. This cycle of contribution, as a thanks for the rewards that they received from Citywise when they were younger, is an inspiring force for these young people to take part in. A lot of the principles and ideas of those courses and those programs stem from Catholic teaching. I believe my path in life was to serve young people, and this made more sense to me than what I studied at university. My service of others allows me to feel satisfied in my life, because when you give to others, you receive much more in return. I have hope that my work makes this world a better place, even if only a little bit. This is what I see as my vocation. Maybe you could consider something similar.
That's not to say, of course, that everyone should turn their lives upside down and become youth workers, as Chris did. And for those of you like myself whose chosen profession or lifestyle isn't one which is obviously a service type of job, I believe that you can still follow God's calling for your life no matter what you do, by being the best you can be wherever you are and whatever you're doing. For some of you, that will mean being the best mother or father, daughter or son or brother or sister that you can be. And for others, it will mean being the best hairdresser, engineer, priest, taxi driver or lollipop lady that you can be, and serving those you meet along your way with kindness and with a smile on your face when you can. I've learned that I can't touch the lives of everyone who needs help, but I can touch the lives of the people I meet during my day who might just need a kind word or a listening ear. And that is a calling which we all share and which we can all answer. And by doing this, we can live out today's gospel, doing everything we do in remembrance and by the example of Jesus Christ. To finish, on behalf of Christopher and myself, we'd like to thank you all for your warm welcome here in Dundalk and for listening to our experiences. We hope it will encourage some of you, especially young people, to get involved with the Redemptorists and to live the Redemptorist Ministry vocation which we all share, lay people and religious alike, and which encourages each and every one of us to demonstrate our faith by our service of those who need it most.
So, just to finish off, if you do want more information on Redemptorist Youth Vocation, myself and Bobbie, Leigh and a few others will be outside, and we'll be handing out a leaflet that gives you a lot more information. It's not just for priests, like people asked us in the last Mass, so please come along